Hi guys, welcome to another Vamos gaming video. Today we're gonna talk about the Intel 265K, and it's actually at a really interesting price on Amazon.sg. So I think on Amazon US as well as Amazon.sg is at its lowest price ever at about 385 Sing dollars. Because how much is it in terms of discount to its MSRP? 265K. 572 Sing dollars. So that is the MSRP in SGD. And yeah. So the interesting thing is that now it is retailing at Amazon.sg for a low price of 385.94, about 386 Sing dollars. And if you have Amazon Prime, this is essentially free shipping, right? And this is pretty interesting because if you look at its competitor CPUs from the AMD side, in terms of productivity workload, it is actually competing against the 9900X as well as the 7900X. And these are the latest prices that I have. The 7900X as its cheapest price from Newegg is at $550. So you're saving about $150 compared to the 7900X. And the 265K is actually faster in productivity work consistently against the 7900X. It is about comparable with the 9900X, and 9900X is also selling at about almost 600 Sing dollars. So it is a good $200 Sing dollar discount from its competitor from AMD, which is the 9900X. But if you're looking at the cheapest deals, then I mean a good case in point would be to get the 7950X from Carousell, because Carousell, quite a few sellers are selling. There's one seller selling at 500 at Sing dollars and another seller selling at 570 Sing dollars. But of course, these are just one or two in stock. So once they run out, they run out. So if you want more of them, once they sell out, yeah, you can't get any more at this low price. Then the rest of the ones from Newegg and Amazon are about 800 plus, 700 plus. So it's way higher in price than the 265K. So why is the 265K worth considering? Because I mean, recently I watched a video from Dear Bauer. He calls it the Intel error lake.
If you look at our 9800 XPD views versus the 285K, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the Intel piece of shit. If you look at the views, it's like a 2x difference.
Error lake, you mean?
Yes, thank you. Error lake, yeah. And so
And Steve from Gamers Nexus calls it a piece of shit, right? The Intel piece of shit, because it performs terribly in gaming. So if you go and look at Gamers Nexus website, this is Gamers Nexus website, which is really good if you are looking for comparison charts for CPU and GPU. You don't have to go through their videos and search one by one. You can go through their main homepage, which is gamersnexus.net, and you can find not all of their benchmarks are here, but some of their more important benchmarks are here. So this is the latest benchmark for the 9950X3D, and there you will find the 265K listed along there, and it is actually listed as March 2025. So that means they have retested the 265K as of March 2025 with the latest Intel drivers or BIOS at that point. And yeah, it is, I would say, considerably up to date. Obviously, it's not as up to date as me, but there's just not a lot of interest in Intel Arrow Lake. It's actually it's called Arrow Lake, but yeah, I think I'm gonna start calling Arrow Lake at this point. So there's not a lot of interest in Intel Arrow Lake, and yeah, but 265K has its value when it comes to a workstation CPU. That means if you are building a purely workstation PC where you're gonna do Blender video editing only and you're not gonna use it for gaming, it is actually quite a good value. So, and in a game like Stellaris, which is like the turn-based counter, things like that, you can see that 265K is pretty fast. It is an 8-core 20 core, but it's actually 8 performance core and 12 efficiency cores. So in a way, 20 core, but is it really 20 core? Like, it is comparable to the 8-core CPUs from, well, I mean, in a way, the 9900X is actually a 12-core CPU. So it is comparable to the 12-core CPU from AMD, but it's not actually 8-core because, yeah, it's kind of confusing. But anyway, let's look at pure performance. In terms of gaming, it is terrible. Like, you can see that the 265K it loses out to like a 5800X3D, like a previous a 5000 series AMD Ryzen CPU from like 4 years ago. 265K loses out to a 5600X, a budget CPU from like 6 years ago, right? 265K and loses to 5600X. This is in gaming. A 265K loses out to, yeah, this Final Fantasy, so it still loses to the 5600X. I think where's the 265K? Here. Yeah, loses to the 5600X. Yep. Starfield, it does a little bit better because Starfield is quite CPU heavy. So 265K, it ranks above the 5000 series or even the 9000 series from AMD. It even beats the 5700X 3D. So on CPU intensive games, yeah, maybe it does a little bit better. But if in Cyberpunk, you can see 265K again loses out to the X3D chips. But it is not bad, I would say. Probably the latest patches did improve its performance. In F124 265K, it performs below the 5600X3D. It performs worse than its previous generation, the 13700K. Performs worse than the 9700X, and so on and so forth. So it performs worse than its competitors from AMD. Then that is still the same. But when it comes to productivity, that's where the 265K starts to shine. 265K, if you look at Blender rendering benchmark, is way at the top. 285K is near the top. 265K, it matches the 14900K, the previous gen flagship. It matches the 9900X. So as I mentioned, in terms of productivity, you really want to compare it against the 9900X or the 7900X. It's faster than the 7900X. And then if you look at Chromium Code Compile, which is a code compilation benchmark, 265K beats the 9900X again. This is a lower is better. The shorter the time, the better. It is on par with the 14700K, so same as the previous gen Intel i7s. Loses out to the 9950X, which is expected, but it beats the 9900X and it beats the 7900X pretty handily in the code compile benchmark. In the 7-zip compression and decompression, though, it loses out to, I believe, actually it's not too bad. Yep, 265K actually in 7-zip compression, it kind of loses out a little bit to the 9900X. Here, somehow the 7900X isn't featured in these benchmarks. So we don't know how the 7900X does. And decompression, I think, is the same. 265K actually loses out quite a fair bit. It loses out to the 3950X from, yeah, the 3000 series AMD flagship. Well, yeah, actually the decompression one, it actually does pretty bad. 265K does pretty bad. Adobe Premiere, though, Adobe Premiere, it does really good. So in Adobe Premiere, 265K actually matches the AMD 9950X. It matches its own predecessor, the 14700K. So 14700K pretty good. Adobe, it beats 7950X. So the 7000 flagship, it beats a 9900X, and I'm sure it's gonna beat the 7900X. Yeah, 7900X is pretty far down. So if you are building a machine purely for like Adobe Premiere Workstation, the 265K is pretty good. And in terms of this is efficiency benchmark, so we'll skip that. In terms of motherboards, I would say you can actually find them at decent prices. So if we look at like some of the Simlim, okay, Simlim ones, so you can see that this is Intel 15 Gen, the Z series, and the B860 and the Z890. These are the chipsets for the Intel Arrow Lake. So there are motherboards that are below 300, so 249. If you scroll down, if you really search, you can find like 239, the B860M, Gigabyte Eagle, Wi-Fi 6. So 275, another Gigabyte board. This is where this from Fuel. And if you look at Bisgram, do they have a motherboard alone price? Don't have. Dynacore motherboard alone price not offered. Infinity, do they have? Yeah, they have motherboard alone price. So we're looking at Intel Ultra series. Any cheap motherboards? There is, yeah, a 239, the Gigabyte Eagle Wi-Fi B860M. So in general, you can easily find motherboards that support this CPU below the 300 SGD price. So you can find budget motherboards, and you can actually pair it up with yeah, this is TechYard. So TechYard also has some budget motherboards. I believe this is the B860M. Yeah, B860M. So 239. Same here at the TechYard. So you can actually find budget motherboards to pair with this offer pricing for the 265K. And I believe this is the lowest it has ever gone. So if you are building a workstation PC brand new, you can consider the 265K, the Intel Core Ultra 265K. Of course, there's a lot of caveats to this. If you're gaming with this system and also doing productivity work, your gaming performance might not be the best. So you have to keep that in mind. But this is a pretty attractive price. Even if you're looking at the gaming, actually not really. I will be doing a follow-up video for the AMD Ryzen CPUs, and you will see that the 7700 non-X is actually the best deal for, I would believe, gaming CPUs in general. Best value is about less than 300. It's like less than 250 Sing dollars. You can get them from AliExpress pretty easily. So yeah, for gaming this is a terrible choice, but for workstation it is not bad. But as a consumer, you do have several things you want to keep in mind, like, will this platform last though? Because the Intel platform, it is not selling well. The Intel Core Ultra is not selling well, and there are rumors that Intel might not even want to do a refresh of these CPUs, because since they're selling so terribly, even if they refresh, they're just going to sell as bad. So they're considering skipping this Intel Core Ultra entirely for the next gen, which means they're going to change the chipset, which means that the motherboards you're going to need new motherboards again if you're going to buy new Intel CPUs in the next generation, provided if they are good, if you want to consider them. So which means any motherboard that you buy to pair with your 265K now, you have no resale value, right? And you cannot reuse it for the next gen of Intel CPUs. So yeah, that's a big caveat. Actually, that's a lot of consumers actually don't want Intel, mainly because of its inability to future-proof itself, because it doesn't support future CPUs. So anyway, this has been a longer video than I thought, and so 265K, pretty good, pretty cheap only at Amazon, because if you look at my other research, the other cheapest one I can find is only at the TechYard, but that is the 265KF, which doesn't have the integrated graphics, which might be important if you need the Intel QuickSync technology for Adobe Premiere to speed up your rendering process. So that's about it, and we'll see you guys in the next video.